What's happening, everyone? It's Kyle from Magpie 24/7. I hope you're all good. Well, it's three games into the season and three defeats. Losing to Villa, West Ham, and last night on penalties to Burnley. So we've lost to three mid-table to low mid-table sides, and yeah, it's pretty bleak. We'll lose on penalties to Burnley, which is it's mental. Like, if you were to say to me when Bruce took over, he'd make two quarterfinals without beating a Premier League team, you'd be like, it kind of just puts it into perspective now how fluky those cup runs were when we actually made quarterfinals because we weren't beating anybody. We can't even beat Burnley at home. Do you know what I mean? And the worst thing is, would have had a tie against Rochdale in the next round as well, so would have had a nice tie to get into the latter end of the competition yet again, but couldn't get past Burnley. Steve Bruce promised a strong side, but it was it wasn't. He rested Willock, he rested ASM, he rested Wilson, he rested the key players that could win us the game. Um, First half, as you'd expect. I mean, the first half highlight was the Gallagher corner chucking a hat around, um, all half. That tells you how entertaining the first half really was. Nothing going either end. It was just a shite half. No team had any real chances in the first half. It was fairly boring. The atmosphere was all right. I mean, there was one chant. I sat relatively close to the corner, but there was one chant that was like a bit like, yeah. Brucey gives a wave. I mean, really, lads, come on. I mean, uh, I, I'm not gonna lie. It's when you're trying to get a man to leave the club, Brucey gives a wave is not the chant I'd go for. I mean, bit embarrassing if I'm honest, but I mean it's just not something I'd sing. I mean, each to their own, but when he's been a plague on this club for as long as he has, Bruce gives a wave. It's similar to saying Ashley gives a wave. Do you know what I mean? I mean, I'm not going to attack one fan base, but it just feels like, why would you sing that at a game? It's really frustrating because Bruce has he's probably in a lot of fans' eyes, he's probably the most hated manager since either Alan Pardew or Graham Souness. So for him to get a chant like that, it's a bit unnervy for me. But yeah, each of their own. But the highlight of the first half was them chucking a hat around, and then eventually in the second half a shirt around, which provided great entertainment. It was a bit of a crease considering that was going on the field. But we started with Hendrick in midfield. Fraser played in midfield. I was interested to see how he'd develop because looking at Fraser's quality, he would have been the one to look to really change the game. He didn't do that, unfortunately. I'm trying to think of like positives because I don't want to be like negative because that's going to be the outline of the video. But like, I was impressed with the way Jamal Lewis played. I thought he played well. You can tell he doesn't have much confidence because the amount of times he got the ball and just kind of stuck in his own half instead of bombing on and trying to get across into the box. Because when he crosses the ball, he's very good. And I think with Richie being massively out of form at the minute and being at fault for at least three or four of the goals that we've conceded so far this season, you'd think that's a really good opportunity for Jamal Lewis to come in, and I think he made a good impact. But for me, when a left midfielder or a winger is getting into the midfield ahead of Matty Longstaff, it's really frustrating for me because it's like, why isn't Matty getting a game? Why can't he get in over Jeff Hendrick? Why can't he get in over a winger in his position? And then you bring on Miggy Almiron, who's also a winger, also an attacking midfielder, and you put him in Matty Longstaff's position. Like Bruce said after the game, he's frustrated for Matty and he feels sorry for him, and it's been a horrible couple of months, and he wants him to get in the team, but he keeps stopping him from getting into the team, and it's really frustrating. Because, like, yeah, a couple of these might say the Longstaff brothers aren't very good, but how can Matty prove himself when he's not even getting any fucking games? Do you know what I mean? It's like the the last start Matty got was against Man City away, and the last chance he got before that was Liverpool away. So it's like, how can he make an impact against teams like that, but you won't start him in cup games and stuff? It's just infuriating, man. It's just this manager. He moans about injuries and stuff, but he doesn't. he doesn't give people a chance that probably warrant them and deserve them. And he was saying before the game as well, there's a couple of lads that need chances and stuff like that. But I was impressed with Jamal Lewis. I was really impressed with Jamal Lascelles. Like in the 90 minutes, Chris Wood or Ashley Barnes didn't get close. He was phenomenal, Jamal Lascelles. And like I know the loss will tarnish over everything, but Jamal Lascelles played really well, and I think that needs to be spoke about because I don't think anybody spoke about it. Freddie Woodman saved a penalty. Obviously, yeah, Miggy and Maxi didn't cover themselves in glory with that one, but I mean, we'll go into the second half, and Gale hit the bar. We had a couple of little chances and we were growing into the game. I think Bruce made his changes a little bit too late. I think if you'd have brought Maxi and Willock on 10 minutes sooner, they might have been able to make more of an impact. But yeah, it was. I think it was too little, too late, and then it goes to penalties, and Burnley beat one penalties, which wasn't ideal. But yeah, it's just we're 3 games in now, and we've got 3 defeats, and we've lost 2 at home to West Ham and Burnley, so it's not ideal at the minute. Like, and there's been a couple of pictures going out circulating online, with Bruce being outside of the huddle for penalties and walking away as penalties were going on, and it just doesn't show like how United. Like, he's meant to be this man manager that the players are behind. Those pictures don't show it, and it's like it's really frustrating because we're 3 games in. Fans are very nervy about the season, and we're no further forward. We haven't signed anybody to improve on the squad from last season. We've re-signed Joe Willock, which is great, but we're no stronger than we were last season. We've released a lot of players. We need players in the door, and they're not improving on the squad. And Bruce is saying we might look at a loan, and it's like the loan players we're going for, like Sachu and Xavier and people like that, they've already gone because we wouldn't pay up the loan fee for them. So it's like, when is it going to change? When is it going to end? And it's just like, I feel like I'm repeating myself every video with the way the club is, but yeah, it already feels like a huge game on Saturday against Southampton because we're running late on the season when we play all of the big 6 in the last 8 games, and it's like, oh, if we're in trouble going into those last couple of games, then we might go down. And it's just like we're meant to start the season well, and that's one thing Bruce has always had. We've started seasons well, but this season we don't seem to have done so. And I think if we go one behind on Saturday, I can say it's been really toxic. But we'll go out on penalties and very lacklustre game against Burnley, and it just doesn't show signs of improvement. But I'm pleased Bruce is optimistic in his own little way because he doesn't think we lost yesterday, which is crazy in itself. He's like, we didn't lose on the night. I think he's referring to 90 minutes, but when you draw 0-0 at home to Burnley, I mean, come off it, man. We did the exact same result, the last game before we went to lockdown, with a full attendance, and it just shows lack of progression. We lost 2-0 to Villa last 2-0 to Villa 2 seasons ago, and we drew 0-0 to Burnley like we did 2 seasons ago. So work in progress, Bruce. You know what I mean? But it's a big game Saturday. I'm sure Paul's going to do a preview for that tomorrow. We'll not do a podcast on this game. We'll just wait till the weekend and do a podcast then. But let us know what you think. We'll catch a preview later on the week in the podcast at the end of the weekend. And I catch you all in a bit. Everyone says it.
It's a Burnley! Burnley! Take it in!